Okay, so get this, listeners. Some of you sent in this video, and it's all about some pretty strange stuff supposedly happening under the moon's surface.
Especially near the South Pole, right?
Yeah. Like, there's this potential movement of a gigantic mass, and then you got weird magnetic readings.
Don't forget the spirals.
Right. These totally crazy spiral shapes that some people are saying have just got to be aliens. Like, come on. So let's deep dive into this lunar mystery.
You know, the thing that really caught my attention with this video is how it brings in data from that NASA Grail mission.
Oh, yeah, the Grail mission.
Yeah, which stands for Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory, in case anyone's wondering. But its whole purpose was to map out the moon's gravity field, like super detailed. And yeah, it did find some spots where the mass is all spread out evenly.
Interesting.
Which is definitely interesting, but the video kind of takes it way too far when it tries to connect that to some huge thing moving around down there.
Yeah, way too far might be putting it nicely, don't you think?
Maybe a little bit.
Because they keep showing these spirals over and over again. So see, proof something's moving under the surface. And then, of course, they got to throw in that classic swamp gas excuse for why, nobody's talking about it.
The old swamp gas.
Yeah.
A classic for sure.
It's like lunar conspiracy theory bingo. But okay, seriously, think about it. The moon's had this super long and crazy history.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking lava flows way back when and shifts in the ground and all this other stuff that could leave some really bizarre formations behind. It's easy to look at those spirals and be like, aha, I knew it. But they could just be, natural features that look super strange because of how shadows fall or how the moon reflects light. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so maybe there's no secret moon base with a bunch of swirly doors or whatever.
Probably not right.
But what about those magnetic and reflective properties? The video keeps bringing those up. Is there anything to that?
Well, the moon definitely does have some areas with funky magnetic readings. That's true. But the thing is, those readings are kind of like echoes.
Echoes?
Yeah, like echoes from a super, super old magnetic field. We're talking billions of years ago. It's not like something's active down there right now.
Yeah.
It's more like if you find a rusty old horseshoe.
A horseshoe.
Yeah. It tells you there used to be a horse around.
Right.
But it doesn't mean there's one, galloping by this second breath.
That's a good analogy. What about the reflectivity, then?
That could be caused by a whole bunch of different things. Different minerals reflect light differently,
Oh.
You might get these bright spots just because the stuff on the surface changes in that spot. Or it could even be the way the sun hits those spots, making them seem extra bright. We need way more info before we start jumping to conclusions about hidden structures or alien tech.
Man, this is way more complicated than that video made it seem.
For sure.
It's like they just picked and chose whatever data fit their story.
Exactly. That's why you always got to look at the whole picture. The Grail mission actually used 2 spacecraft. Yeah. It was like a pair of lunar detectives.
Cool.
Chasing each other around the moon,
Wow.
And they measured even the tiniest changes in the distance between them. That's how we got that crazy detailed gravity map of the moon.
Wow, that's some seriously impressive technology.
Right.
I never knew that. 2 spacecraft playing a game of cosmic tag. That's amazing. And we got this awesome map because of it.
Pretty cool, right? And all that data from Grail, it's all publicly available.
Really?
Anyone can dig into it themselves if they want to. But one of the coolest things it showed us was that the inside of the moon is actually super porous in some spots.
Porous?
Yeah. Almost like a giant sponge.
A giant space sponge? That's wild.
Right. But the point is, while some people are busy looking for little green men, scientists are actually using this data to make real discoveries, like about how the moon was formed and its history.
So the moon is like this time capsule.
Kinda, yeah.
Holding on to all these clues from billions of years ago. That's incredible. So, okay, we've got some real science going on here. But I gotta admit, that video is still kind of bugging me. They made this whole thing sound so believable. What would you say to someone who watched that and now they're like, yep, something's definitely up?
Well, I'd say it's awesome to be curious, right? Like, ask all the questions you want.
For sure.
But gotta remember, when someone makes a crazy claim, they need crazy good evidence to back it up. And in this case, the evidence just isn't there. Like, we got to be careful about jumping to conclusions just because we don't have all the info.
Right, right.
Or letting our imaginations, get a little too wild.
So a healthy dose of skepticism, that's key when we're exploring these lunar mysteries.
Absolutely.
But hey, what's the harm in having a little fun with it?
Right.
Like, it's fun to think about,
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's definitely room for imagination. But when we're trying to really understand the universe.
Yeah,
Got to rely on stuff we can actually see and measure.
makes sense.
Otherwise, we end up in this rabbit hole of misinformation, and then we miss out on all the real wonders that are actually out there.
Good point. So we need to stay grounded, keep those feet on the ground, but keep that sense of wonder going strong.
Yeah.
So before we dive too deep into the debunking side of things,
Okay.
let's take a step back
Right.
and talk about what we do know about the moon's underground world.
Yeah.
What's down there? What are the real mysteries that scientists are actually trying to solve?
That's a great question and a perfect way to jump into the next part of our deep dive.
Ooh, you heard that, folks. We're about to go even deeper. Stick around.
You won't want to miss it.
Eh,
All right, so welcome back, everybody. Before we got all wrapped up in those alien theories, you asked a really good question.
I did.
You did.
Yeah.
What do we actually know about what's below the moon's surface? Like what's down there?
Oh, right. It's easy to get sidetracked by the what ifs. But yeah, I am really curious about what scientists are actually learning about the moon's, hidden depths.
Well, first of all, it's not just a big solid ball of rock.
No.
Nope. The Drill mission showed us that the inside of the moon is way more complex than we thought. Remember we were talking about it being like a giant sponge in some places?
Yeah, that was pretty mind-blowing.
Right. So scientists think those porous areas were made by old lava flows. Like imagine a massive network of tunnels and chambers underground, all formed by molten rock, like billions of years ago. It's like a whole hidden world under the surface.
So instead of alien bases, we got ancient lava tubes. That's still pretty cool. But why are scientists so interested in these underground structures?
Well, for a couple of reasons. First, they give us a peek into the moon's really early history. It's like clues about its volcanic past and how it's changed over time.
It's like lunar archaeology.
Exactly. But it's not just about looking back. These lava tubes could actually be super valuable for future exploration of the moon.
Oh, really? How so?
Okay, imagine you're setting up a base on the moon. The surface is brutal. You got crazy radiation, intense temperature swings, meteorites could be hitting you, but underground, inside a lava tube,
Yeah.
you got natural shielding and a way more stable environment.
So it's like a ready-made lunar bunker.
Exactly. Lava tubes could be shelter for habitats, research labs, maybe even whole lunar cities someday. Some scientists even think they could have water ice inside.
Water ice.
Yeah, which would be like revolutionary for humans living on the moon long term.
So we're not just talking about ancient history.
Yep.
These lava tubes could be a key to our future on the moon.
Exactly. That's what makes studying the moon so exciting. It's not just about figuring out the past, but it's about getting ready for humanity's future out there in space.
This is making me think back to that video again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were so focused on finding those aliens that they missed out on all this awesome real science.
Sometimes the truth is even more unbelievable than the fiction.
That's for sure. So besides those lava tubes, what else are scientists learning about what's under the surface of the moon?
Well, remember how that video talked about unusual clusters of mass, and they said something must be moving around down there.
Yeah, that was like one of their big pieces of evidence, right?
Right. But like we talked about, those weird mass spots are probably just because of differences in the moon's crust and mantle.
Okay.
But even though it's not aliens, studying those differences can still tell us a ton about how the moon was made and how its insides have changed over time.
So it's not aliens, but it's still really important information.
For sure. Scientists are using this data to build detailed models of the inside of the moon.
Oh, wow.
Like a 3D puzzle, trying to piece it all together. They're looking for anything that tells us about the moon's early history, its connection to Earth, even the things that shape the whole solar system.
Wait, so by studying the moon, we're learning about the entire solar system?
In a way, yeah. The moon is like this perfectly preserved record from billions of years ago. It's got a time capsule. So by figuring out the moon's story, we get a better grasp on our own cosmic origins.
That's deep, man. So what's next for lunar exploration? Are there any missions coming up that will help us unlock even more secrets about the moon's, underbelly?
Absolutely. There's this whole renewed focus on lunar exploration. Lots of countries and private companies are planning missions to the moon over the next few years, and some of them are specifically going to the South Polar region.
Oh, really? The place where that video said all the weird stuff was happening?
The very same. But I doubt they'll be searching for aliens, though.
Oh, okay. So what will they be looking for then?
Well, they'll be searching for something that's actually even more valuable: water ice.
Didn't we already talk about that? I thought the lava tubes might have some.
They might. But it's not just about lava tubes. Scientists think those craters at the lunar poles that are always in shadow, they could be trapping water ice. Like water ice that's been delivered to the moon by comets and asteroids over billions of years.
So it's like this cosmic freezer full of ancient ice?
Pretty much. And that ice could completely change the game for humans exploring and living on the moon in the future.
How so?
We could use it for drinking water, making oxygen, even rocket fuel.
Whoa, that's amazing. So the moon isn't just some dusty rock floating around up there.
Nope.
It's like this potential resource hub for future space travelers.
Exactly. And as we continue to explore what's beneath the moon's surface, who knows what else we might find? Maybe even evidence of ancient life,
Whoa, no, that would be a discovery for the ages.
It really would. But even if we don't find any alien fossils or anything, the stuff we learned from studying the moon will help us push the boundaries of human exploration and understanding. It's a journey that's really just beginning, and it's one that we can all be a part of.
I love that. So what you're saying is we don't need to rely on fictional conspiracies to get excited. The real science is already super captivating. We can all be lunar explorers in our own way just by staying curious, reading about new discoveries, and asking questions.
Exactly. There are so many incredible resources out there for anyone who wants to learn more about the moon and space exploration. Like, NASA's website is a goldmine of information.
Really?
Yeah, and there are tons of books and documentaries, even online groups where you can talk to other space fans.
It's like we have a whole universe right at our fingertips, just waiting to be explored. And who knows, maybe someday some of our listeners will be the ones making the next big moon discoveries.
Anything is possible, right? The future of space exploration really depends on the passion and curiosity of the next generation.
It's wild thinking back to that video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they made it seem like the moon was this crazy hub of secret alien activity.
Right.
But everything we've learned, the real exciting stuff, is the science, the discoveries.
It really shows how easily our imaginations can go wild, especially when we're talking about something as mysterious as the moon.
Yeah, it's like we're programmed to see patterns, make up stories. Even when there's not much to go on. Like a blurry picture. Boom, alien spaceship. Or some weird rocks. Secret base.
It's just part of being human, that need to make sense of the world. But it's super important to balance that with like a healthy dose of skepticism and thinking critically.
For sure, we can't just believe everything we see or hear, especially when someone's making a big outlandish claim. Gotta dig deeper.
Absolutely. Ask those questions.
Demand the evidence.
That's what science is all about, right? Testing our assumptions, refining what we know, pushing the limits of knowledge.
It's like that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And that's true even for something we see almost every night, like the moon.
Totally. We've been studying the moon for forever.
Right.
But every new mission, every discovery, it shows us how much more there is to learn.
This whole conversation's been a real eye-opener for me. I started off thinking aliens and conspiracies, but now I'm just blown away by the actual science.
Isn't it amazing? The truth is often weirder and way more interesting than anything we could make up.
And more importantly, it's something we can all be a part of. Like, you don't need to be a rocket scientist or an astronaut to explore the universe.
No way.
We can do it right here, right now, just by being curious, reading about the latest discoveries, asking those questions.
Exactly. There are so many amazing resources out there for anyone who wants to learn more about the moon, about space. NASA's website is a great place to start.
Oh, really?
Yeah, tons of info there. And then there are so many books, documentaries, even online groups where you can connect with other space enthusiasts.
It's like we have a whole universe right here at our fingertips just waiting to be explored. And who knows, maybe someday some of our listeners will be the ones making those groundbreaking discoveries.
It could happen. The future of space exploration, it really depends on that passion, that curiosity, that next generation.
So wrapping up this deep dive into lunar mysteries, one last thought for our listeners. Don't let anyone tell you science is boring, or that the moon is just this lifeless rock in the sky. There's a whole world of wonder out there just waiting to be discovered. And the best part is we can explore it together. This has been The Deep Dive. Keep looking up, and we'll catch you next time.